Chapter 5, Brainstorm. Jail? This was awful. What would I tell my parents? Then I started thinking, maybe jail wasn't so bad. I mean, I wouldn't have to put up with Jim Brody making fun of me. Then I thought of something even better. Would I miss school? I asked. The cop laughed. I'm just pulling your leg, kid, he said. I'll just give you a ride up to school. That's a pretty big hill there. Rats. The cop drove around the front of the school. Simon was standing with a bunch of kids at the school door. He was blocking the door, waving his arms and pointing to the street. Good old Simon. He was holding the kids back so they could see me get out of the yellow Corvette. Too bad he didn't know what happened. The cop got out of his door. Then he came around and opened my door. I stepped out and all the kids stared at me. Simon's mouth fell open. Jim Brody pointed at me. What did you do, Sam? Steal a little kid's lunch? All the kids laughed. Shouldn't you all be in class? Asked the cop. Simon stopped guarding the door. He opened it and the kids went inside. The cop turned to me. What's your name, kid? Sam, sir. Well, Sam, don't let me catch you skipping class again, okay? I nodded and ran inside. I zoomed up 2 flights of stairs and into my classroom. Mr. Chong was not thrilled. In trouble again? He asked. Mr. Chong did not wait for the answer. He started with some math, but I couldn't keep my mind on it. I kept wondering what I'd tell the kids at recess. Then the kid behind me poked me with her pencil. I turned around to glare, but she handed me a piece of paper. I tore a hunk of paper out of my notebook, and this is what I wrote back. What happened? That's what the note said, what happened, and this is Simon's response. It says, got to car, cop came, car took off, cop grabbed me. I was watching Simon read it, so I didn't see Mr. Chong come down the aisle, but I sure heard his ruler when he banged it on my desk. I spun around fast, but Mr. Chong was halfway to Simon. Give me that note, Simon, he said. Simon handed it over, and Mr. Chong threw it into the garbage can. Sam and Simon, half hour with me after school, he said. Great. Could this day get any better? The afternoon dragged on. We finished math and started social studies. For this unit, we're going to look at careers, said Mr. Chong. Your project is to learn about the job of someone in our town. You can work with a partner on this. I want a written report and an oral presentation. The written report has to be 2 pages long. The presentation should last about 10 minutes. Any questions? There were lots of questions. Most of them were stupid. When's it due? How long does it have to be? Is the written thing due at the same time as the oral thing? What's it about? Mr. Chong rolled his eyes. We went over the project again. Then he told us to find a partner. I picked Simon, of course. I don't think Mr. Chong wanted us to work together, but there was no choice. No one else ever wanted to work with us. Mr. Chong gave us 10 minutes to figure out our topic, but all Simon and I did was talk about what happened to me. That guy was huge, I whispered to Simon, and he grabbed me, like hard. Were you scared? He asked. Nah, I lied a bit. But you were right, there's something creepy about him. Then Mr. Chong was right beside us. You boys having a nice chat? Asked Mr. Chong. And so Simon and I got back to the stupid project. Simon kept coming up with ideas. I kept saying they were all boring. So at the end of the time, we had nothing. Mr. Chong asked us all what we had chosen. 2 kids had chosen a school nurse. Someone else picked a bus driver. Jim and Haji were going to talk to the guy at the corner store. Simon elbowed me. What are we going to do? I shrugged. Simon hissed in my ear. My dad's a dentist. Let's do him. Are you crazy? Who wants to learn about a dentist? Well, what then? We've got 30 seconds. The last thing I wanted to think about was some stupid project. I had plenty of other stuff to worry about. I had to figure out some way to explain being in the cop car. I had to do something about that money we found. And then, I don't know how it happened, but I got a really good idea. A bat brainstorm. One that solved everything. Mr. Chong stood in front of us. Well, boys, what's your topic? Simon started to talk, but I elbowed him. Simon and I are going to do a report about the police, I said. Then I looked at the rest of the class. That's why I was in the cop car.